Hi, this is Pete with Nielsen Online, and I wanted to share with those of you on the Nielsen team just some thoughts about this notion of paid versus earned media. This is a concept that to some extent we've been talking about quite some time with Buzz Metrics and earlier IntelliSeek going back many years, where we talked about why we called CGM media, and that was to kind of put it in the context of media planning. Now we're starting to see a lot of conversation in industry circles around this notion of paid versus earned media. And here's a construct to think about. If you look at the chart here, which is a little bit difficult to read vis-a-vis this short video clip, but think about a world where media planners have to think about maximizing favorable media, and they can do that in two different ways. They can do that through paid media, of which there are many ways of building out the mix between online and offline and targeted, direct display advertising or direct response advertising. Again, any number of combinations on the paid side. And then there's what we refer to as the earned side, which is really where social media and consumer-generated media falls into place. And there's a number of ways of thinking about the earned space, and we think that with enough experience, brands can begin to develop a set of rules that can inform confidence as to when they make a certain type of investment, what type of earned media they may develop. So I'd say I'd put them into a couple different buckets. Number one, there's the ad influenced or driven. So we're definitely seeing that conversation does emanate or echo from paid advertising. We may see a major ad campaign and suddenly people are talking about it on Twitter or message boards or forums. And again, that's something where we might actually build into our media planning models a earned media multiple. And of course the ad copy has to be provocative, engaging. It may have to strike the right emotional chord, similar to a lot of Super Bowl ads. But over time we may develop rules that would say, boy, when there's a paid media campaign, we're going to get a certain type of conversational multiple. And of course we want that to be reinforcing, not detracting. That's the other area where we have to be very sensitive. Oftentimes consumers will react negatively to paid advertising, thereby reducing the net ROI or actually making it worse than not having advertised at all. There's another very important component of the earned media side, and this is probably where we focus most of our attention within Nielsen Online Buzz Metrics. And it's partly because as we analyze the buzz for major client categories such as banking, auto, electronics, even to some extent CPG, in some categories we'll find that experience, brand experience, product performance, customer service, that is what drives a lot of the earned media. Now that raises a very interesting question for the person that's trying to plan for maximum media exposures. What do you invest in? Do I invest in better customer service? Do I invest in better employees that can treat end customers better so you get a viral dividend? Do I invest in making sure the product works all of the time? Do I invest in a better website that wraps around the brand experience? The whole notion is, how do I think about the inputs that drive an earned media output? What we do know for sure is this: the brands that win on experience tend to get the higher buzz multiples, irrespective of category. So we know that brands are going to get some level of lift consistently if they get some of those pieces right. Then there's another one, which is spokesperson driven, which relates to the others, which is like, boy, if I can target or influence or win or delight the right influencers, the right spokespersons, the right evangelists, I'm also going to get an earned media dividend. And clearly we're seeing a lot of that in the marketplace today, where brands are giving early exposure to bloggers, giving early exposure even to media members who use platforms like Twitter. But there's a whole science of being very precise in figuring out who is an influencer, who's not, who gets the early news, who doesn't. But again, in many respects, we spent a lot of time perfecting the art of paid media, and we're not even close to being done with that. There's a lot of work, a lot of new initiatives that Nielsen's pushing, but there's a whole other body of work on how do you incubate paid media, on earned media, and it's probably not an overnight fix. It's a long-term building process. What I'd like all of us to think about is, like, how do we create the ultimate marketing mix model, if you will, between paid and earned media? How do we think about the interdependencies between buying a TV ad or buying display advertising online and ensuing conversation? How do we think about the relationship between I'm investing a couple extra dollars and responding to a call center and earned media? Again, part of our role for our clients is to really think about the big pictures, think about how the dots connect, think about the interdependencies and the like. We do know, and here's the good news, that listening really matters. To some extent, you can't even begin to figure out any of this unless you have a really smart, informed listening lens, which can give us a sense, give us empirical evidence that in fact a lot of conversation emanated from certain sources, certain rationales, certain consumer experiences and the like. So we've got a really good starting point. The key is how do we ultimately develop the model. So again, the opportunity here is thinking about the relationship between paid and earned, or maybe even blended media. How does that play out? How does that change the game? I'm Pete Blackshaw with Nielsen. I'd really like your feedback on this. We think we're on to something big. We think it's something that can make an important client and industry contribution, so I'm looking forward to your feedback. Thanks very much.